Hello everybody, Lisa here. Welcome back to my channel, and this is my weekly deck review, or the decks that I've been working with this week. So in this weekly video, I usually post these on Sundays. I rotate through my tarot and oracle decks. So what I do is each week I will choose or randomly select, depending on what I'm working with at a given moment, but I will choose or randomly select a tarot deck and an oracle deck to work with that particular week, and that is usually what I work with exclusively unless I'm called to reach for another deck for a client or for a specific reason. Typically I will always work with the deck of the week for most of my tarot and oracle needs and wants and that sort of thing. So I will share the decks that I've been working with this week and then what decks I'll be working with next week. So this week I have been working with the Bohemian Gothic Tarot by Baba Studio. Oh, I've got a little bit of paper coming up on the box, but this is the box. It's in one of these like one-part clamshell style boxes. The backs of these cards are shiny silver on black, and it's really sharp. I have not edged this deck because I'm afraid to edge this deck. These cards are thin, but they're really flexible. It's really hard to describe this cardstock. People have talked about it before. Apparently it's thin, but it has some kind of fancy core in it. You can see some of the shine from the silver. So pretty. Anyway, but these are really, really borderless, and the images are very sharp. And I've talked about this before, but the camera does not do it justice. You'll see these images and go, yeah, that's pretty art, maybe. I love this lover's card. But they pop out at you. It's hard to describe. They're very three-dimensional and crisp. And I really love that quality about this deck. I gotta figure out where to put these so they don't fall down. Really, really love this. And this has been a powerful deck for me to work with. Obviously, I had Samhain last week, so I worked with this in Ritual. And I also worked with it to do a few fun spreads, which I will link maybe in the cards up above. I did a haunted house spread with Peggy, and to see what's in her haunted house, if I remember correctly. Yes. And I did a Witch's Power spread, and I did a conversation with my shadow self spread that was a VR to Danny Mystic. She had put that spread up, and I just loved it, and it is one I will go back to. Love this Two of Cups as well. But this deck has been really chatty in a different way. It's had some things to say that are not necessarily fully expected, but I have gotten some very clear messages. I don't think I read, other than the haunted house spread with Peggy, I don't think I read for anybody else with this deck this week. Just thinking. But it has been really great for my own personal work. Six of Wands. I really like this one. And I also posted some pictures with this deck on my Instagram for the various, for the challenges. I think I did a couple for the October challenge, and this week also began the November challenge. So I did a couple for the November challenge that I'm doing with, I usually do Lionheart's Instagram challenges. I really like them. So this November, it's a Being Me challenge. But anyway, I could keep apparently showing you images forever. But I really, really enjoyed working with this. I didn't rely on the guidebook. I shouldn't say guidebook. It's more like a little white book. But I didn't rely on it all that much. But one thing that's really cool about this guidebook and was helpful when I was reading for myself, and I did this when I was actually in my Samhain ritual because I specifically wanted to look at this, use this deck to look at shadow. In the book, I'll hold this right up. There is, so I have to peek too so I can see that it's focused. Okay. There is a like regular meaning. See if I can find one to point out. So here's the Hermit. There's the regular meaning here, and then underneath that is a darker shadow or more hidden meaning. So for example, for the Hermit, the regular meaning is a time of isolation, physical or psychological, and contemplation, a quest for knowledge, showing great patience, realizing that it takes time to find spiritual understanding, and looking inside yourself to find inner truth. But the darker shadow or more hidden meaning is being rejected and isolated by society, occult practice undertaken alone, turning your back on mankind, calling someone to the dark side, being too isolated from others. This could affect your psychological well-being. So I thought that was kind of cool to have that perspective. And I realized that it's similar to the idea of an upright and reverse meaning, and yet it had some interesting perspectives in some of the cards that did definitely feel more shadowy, if that makes sense. Like, and I know I talk about light and shadow, but it just felt more extra shadowy. Extra shadowy. I'm going to go with that. So I did really, really enjoy working with this. I could definitely see myself pulling out this deck at other times of the year for sure. Look at this Seven of Wands with this dude. Like, Yeah, I could definitely see pulling this out. And one thing that I did, the thing that I did in my sound reading is I worked with this deck alongside a deck about light, which I will be showing next. And I used this to depict the shadow and the other deck to depict the light. And I could definitely see doing that with this deck again in the future, where I use this, where I pull 2 cards for each spread position to specifically look at light and shadow, using this for the shadow. And I think that could be really powerful. So I think this is one I will definitely reach for that. And I did pick out a really appropriate Peggy bag. So this is the box, and this is the bag that I picked to use with it. It's like blue with like a metallic gold and black, and it's just, it's perfect. It's perfect. So that goes back on my wall for a while. And then for my Oracle deck this week, I was working with the Messages from the Light meditation deck. And I just can't with this deck. It is so stunning. The artwork is painted and soft. It's like exactly the style of art that I really enjoy looking at. Like, look at this Dreamwork card. And one thing that I've mentioned, or will mention, I guess, in my October favorites video and in other videos where I've talked about this deck so far, is it does seem to me like the art was painted with the keyword in mind, or that the keyword, I don't know how else to explain it. Like, this one is transmission, and you see this like almost like a vase, like a universal vase that's just pouring information down and out. The artwork clearly depicts the keyword, in my opinion. And like, here's transformation. We have not just a butterfly, like the initial form of transformation, but it's like evolving even further into light. Like, it's just, I can't with this deck. It's so stunning. This came out for me this week. This came out for me actually the day after my sound ritual, which was very appropriate because I was doing a lot of absorbing that day. But I love these images. Look at this group work image. Like, if you've ever done circle or ritual with other people, think about how powerful this is, with everybody sending their collective energy to a purpose. Like, I just can't. It's so stunning. So this was really, really, really enjoyable to work with this week. It's a fast favorite. It definitely will be coming out to play again, probably many times throughout the year. We will see. So far, I have few enough Oracle decks that they get to come out more than once in a year for a full week. So I will be looking forward to reaching for this again. And I will definitely reach for this if I ever want to specifically pick a theme for meditation or for yoga practice. This one would be great for that. So yes. It does read also very intuitively and well as well. Even though it says meditation deck, it works beautifully as an oracle. Love, 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 love. And the terror cloth I've been working with for like 3 weeks now, 2 weeks, is this delightfully witchy one that Peggy made. And it's got some good stuff all over it. You can see me peeking because I'm always like, I don't know what the camera sees unless I peek. And then the back is this smoky color. I will say that with my darker decks, this was probably a little dark to have in the background, but I loved it, and it was so appropriate. I just had to. So I used this when I was using the Zombie Tarot, and then again this last week with the Bohemian Gothic. So really, really enjoyed using that. Let's talk about what I'm going to be using next week. Or this coming up week. So I am going to be using the Borderless Deviant Moon by Patrick Valenza. This had originally intended to be, I had originally intended for this to be one of my October decks, but I had other stuff I really wanted to get in before Halloween with the Zombie and Bohemian Gothic. I think this will be a beautiful deck year-round, so I am fine with it. I think it's still going to probably tend towards being a dark half of the year deck, but the imagery in this deck is really, really vivid and beautiful, but it does have, to me, that sort of mysterious, creepy sort of energy to it. And maybe creepy is not quite the right word. I really thought this deck was way too dark and creepy for me for a long time. Now that I've worked with it a bit, and I have played with it here and there when I first got it in, and I did, as I mentioned in my, or I will mention, because this video is going to go up first, as I will mention in my October favorites, I did get a reading, a professional reading, and the reader, Kellyanne Maddox, used this deck, and it was really powerful. And it's given me a fondness for this deck that I will probably carry forward forever. But I am really excited to be working with this week. It's very talkative. There's a lot to read into each image, which is something I really enjoy. Like, I really love this Two of Swords. I love that. But yeah, there's a ton here, and the backings are beautiful. I'm really glad that I got this deck once it was available borderless. So yeah, I'm really excited to work with this. I've already picked a really dark, like, perfect bag from Peggy's collection. It's like a black with lace. So yeah, I'm really, really stoked to be working with that. All I have for this deck so far is its little white book. I have the really expensive but stunning book that Patrick put out that talks about this deck in much greater detail. I have it on my wish list, but it's quite pricey. And I didn't want to buy it unless I was pretty sure I was going to be working with this deck over the long term. So, which I'm pretty sure now, but I'm going to work with it for a week first before I like gel my opinions, and then it'll be like firmly on my wish list. The Oracle deck, this is cracking me up actually. As soon as this occurred to me to use this Oracle deck with the Deviant Moon, I was so pleased with myself. I was like, Lisa, you're so smart. But I have decided to put alongside it the Rebel deck. This deck, I think is going to be, I feel like from the little teeny bit I've worked with the Deviant Moon that it's got a bit of sass and a bit of telling you like it is to it. So I thought this would be really fun to put alongside it and to add that really blunt, tell it like it is energy. So just so you know, this deck has tons of profanity. So if you're watching with a small child, you might want to like, you know, do something different for a bit. There's a ton of profanity in this deck, and I'm going to be showing. But on the front of each card, this is what I consider the front, or the back, I guess I should say. On the back of each card, you have a solid color with a black circle and then usually a keyword or two. And then on the back, you have your message. So on the front, for example, this one says laugh. And on the back, where the you know what is your sense of humor. I don't know, I'm like you know what, but whatever. I mean, love this. So I'm planning to definitely work with this alongside the Deviant Moon. And, oh, my preview. There we go. I think that it will make a really fun accompaniment to that deck. So I'm just really, really excited. If you haven't seen this one before, it's really quite playful. And I love, too, because it's got all these really bright neon colors on the front, I edged it. This is probably my favorite edging job ever, because I edged it with matte colors that matched the front of the cards, and I got really good matches for like all the cards. I think my favorite match is this teal color. You can see like a chunk of that teal in there. It's so pretty. So yeah, this is probably one of my first, I think this is maybe my second multicolored edging job, and I love how pretty it is. So yeah, I think this is going to go really nicely alongside the Deviant Moon, and I'm excited to be working with it in a more like meaningful way, not just to like pull a card, make myself giggle, and put it away. So we'll see how this actually reads as far as complementing tarot, and I will talk about that obviously when I wrap up next week. And this one has a fun emoji bag, because emojis, and because playful and sass. It went together. So yeah, really, really enjoy that one. I will let you know how it all goes. Oh, wait, one more thing. My reading cloth I'm working with this week is probably my favorite. This is one, I don't know that I'll ever be able to convince Peggy to make another one of these, but it is a really pretty black and white silk with sort of alphabet-y, sort of worn out kind of alphabet all over it and like black smoke. It's so pretty, and it's so silk. It's real silk. And not that like chiffon-y silk that's kind of gauzy and sticks to your fingers. This is like the really nice smooth silk. And then on the back, it is velvet. So this is probably my all-time favorite, and it's one that I pull out all the time, but I think it'll be really lovely with the Deviant Moon this week. So excited to be working with that one again. This one also never seems to hold a wrinkle because the silk part is so soft that it just, even if I bunch it up, it doesn't really hold any creases, which I really like. And that's true actually of a lot of the ones that have velvet on the back. They don't really hold the creases as easily because when you compress them, the velvet keeps them just a little bit less compressed, if that makes sense. So really excited to work with that one. And that is it for my decks I worked with this week. And thank you so much for tuning in. I would love to hear what you've been working with this last week, so please tell me in the comments below. I love to kind of compare what we're all working with, and maybe what we're going to be working with next week if you rotate your deck similarly to how I do. And if you don't, that's cool. Just tell me what your favorite deck is at the moment. And I will talk to you all again very soon. Have a great night or day or afternoon or morning, wherever you might be and whenever you might be watching this. Take care, guys. Bye.